Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. We are coming to you from a secret location in the Los Angeles area. Chris Lord-Alge is here, the Lord of the Mix.
Hey, Mitch, thanks for coming.
Can't come to LA and not come see you.
I'm so happy to see you after NAMM. I know we all survived it. No one got anthrax, and here we are. I'm so happy you came over.
Yeah,
we
well,
got some time.
Thanks for making time for us today.
Always. Come on, we go way back, way back.
Yeah, it is so cool. Well, man, we go way back, but I've never seen the studio looking like this before. You made some changes.
Well, we definitely modified it, and during the COVID era and during the time we've had, it was time to refresh the whole thing. So once we refreshed it, all new interfaces, all recap console, just rewire the whole studio and modernize it.
Right.
So then it was time to pull the trigger on the big A.
The big A.
The big Atmos thing. So the spatial audio, as they call it. So with all the friends I have in these businesses, we found the best way to do it. So first, make room for it. So with Arthur Kelm, with Kerry Thomas, with Phil Wagner, with Alan Sides, I got the prototype, Ocean Way audio system. And me and Alan go way, way back, and how could I say no? I can't refuse an offer he made. So let me be the guinea pig for his rig. Now, since this is a Vincent Van Hoff room, it's a great design. It can handle the expansion. Okay, a lot of rooms when you try to expand it, it's really hard to shoehorn it in. Well, we didn't cut any corners, got it right, put the trussing up. So now we're able to, after a few tunings, monitor Atmos correctly and be like one of the flagship rooms sonically. So
So before, your main monitoring system was the NS10s with a subwoofer.
Yep.
Is your main system you work through. You got the big mains up in the walls. But now you've got 3 of the Ocean Way speakers in front. Yeah. And are these all Ocean Way monitors as well that are surrounding us?
The whole thing is Ocean Way.
Okay.
So we have 2 completely different systems. We have a stereo system, which obviously is the big speakers and the stereo mains, and then a 914 discrete system, completely separate. They are not joined together whatsoever, which makes the workflows much better. So we have a 914, so you have your 13 speakers, and at this point, I think I'm up to 9 subs, because I have 5 in front and 4 in back. Trying to solve the sub thing in Atmos, because for me, when you listen to stereo, 2 speakers in a sub, there's a lot of power behind it. When you spread the music out far and wide in Atmos, something gets lost, and to me, the bass starts to get lost. It doesn't cover the same area that the mid-range and the high-end does. So there's still some growing pains in this system as new products are coming out, but it's not for the squeamish. It really isn't, because there's a lot of little hoops you have to jump through with the controller that plays the system, with the Dolby renderer, with that software, right? And with the cards and the Dante that have to talk together to get it all to work. Once it's up and running, it plays back fine. You're feeding a Pro Tools rig to that, and it seems to work. So
Right. But the way you put it together here with the trusses, I mean, really a brilliant design to be able to get the height speakers and also the surround speakers and the side speakers and everything in the right location. Brilliant idea.
This is Art Kelm's idea, because this is what he did at Capitol, and making the measurement with the equal distance from front, for the 2 equal distances between surround, mid, wide, and the fronts. But yeah, by having this, the trusses make it great, and we can put some disco lighting up there in a mirror bowl next.
You're all set at that point.
I'm all set for that.
So 9 subwoofers?
9. I mean, I have 5 under the front, and I put 4 in the back bass trap. I don't know if that's helping. I have this big problem. It's called gear. So my rack of gear kind of swallows up the subs behind. So we're still trying to figure out a way to get the bass to be perfect in the middle for me.
Right.
So you know what? I like a challenge. And I'd have to jack up the console a bit higher to put bigger ones down there. But we'll figure it out. I may have to go the route of like a PA sub, which throws, I think the consumer subwoofers versus a PA sub might make the difference. It's a whole different animal. These don't throw like the ones I have out by my pool that my neighbors like.
Oh, I bet they love it.
Oh,
I bet they love it. So is your workflow dramatically different when you start approaching a mix? Are you thinking about Atmos as you move into starting a mix, or how are you processing that?
Okay, good question, Mitch. So the difference is, right now, you make your deliverables, your stems, your deliverables for the label. You're going to end up now making maybe a half a dozen more, because you know what you need. So I look at the Atmos thing differently than anybody else. I want the song mixed in stereo. I want to build the sound of the record in stereo. And then I'm going to create my pairs to become objects in the other computer for the Atmos mix.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found is that I really need to have like kick and snare, have their own stereo stem, and then even kick, snare, toms, and then everything else. I can do the drums in 8 stems, 4 stereo stems, and that gives me the impact I want. That's the extension. But also, when you're listening to a song, what you do is goes, well, I could make a moment out of this, this, and that. And then you might create a special stem for that to give you coverage.
Okay.
The good thing about it is that if you need to dig back to the original multi-track or naked stems or raw stems, whatever we're calling the original session, you can go back and pick something and import it into your Atmos mix session. So it's 2 completely different systems. Stereo doesn't even know the Atmos exists.
Okay.
Because why would I want to mess up with my workflow? I don't think doing it on one computer is going to work for me. And I don't want to use the console to do any of the kind of assignments. This thing, this thing's like an old Marshall. You just look at it the wrong way, it's not going to work. So with the outputting of Atmos objects, and you want clean paths and all digital, it's all in the box. So then the only thing you do in your Atmos Pro Tools system is some slight EQing, some little bit of leveling, and not really very much automating because you already have the mix in there. Mm-hmm. So that's how that workflow works.
So let me make sure I understand. So you're basically doing your complete stereo mix. Okay, this is done.
Yep.
And now I'm going to create stems from that stereo mix of your drums, of your guitars, of your vocals. Yep. And you move those over to another computer that's set up to do the actual Atmos routing and all of the stuff that's going on there.
Right, and at that point, all you do is you use your HDMI switcher and your keyboard mouse switcher, just switch to the other computer, put it up on the big screen, you look at your renderer, and you go from there.
Okay.
Then you're monitoring on another set of monitors at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Then you turn up your dad, mom, and off you go, and then you're mixing in Atmos. And this way, even if you just put everything up at 0 and pan them out just the way you think in your mind, it's a very close start to where the record was. And I personally think if a producer and an artist have approved the stereo mix, then isn't it the best thing to start from that foundation and make sure it sounds right?
Yeah, right.
Speaking of foundation, I'm waiting for the next record.
Well,
very important, Mitch Gallagher's record, Foundation.
I'm working on it.
The Weight of Light.
The Weight of Light.
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming to not a record store near you.
Yeah, coming to a streaming service near you.
Yeah, exactly.
But back to the subject at hand.
So have there been surprises? Were there things like you went, wow, that's really different when I'm trying to get these height speakers incorporated, or anything that caught you?
The biggest problem is that the glue that holds the music together in stereo, when it becomes unhinged in Atmos, it's harder to make it feel, it's harder to make the song feel right. You tend to actually pan things more in and not have them so discreetly spread. Mm-hmm. And there's no spaceships flying around unless it's a weird song. There's no crazy panning. You're trying to actually just make it sound more 3-dimensional.
Right.
I've come across some live things really come across in Atmos to me. So some live shows I've been working on, when I put those in Atmos, it's like automatic. And a recent show I did for Harry Styles went out and recorded it. I actually recorded the audience mics with that thought in mind. So hopefully I'll be wrapping that up at some point with Apple and get that up there as like a premiere live show in Atmos. Because you want to feel like you're seated in the audience and you have a bit of that sensation of ambience from an arena.
Right.
So hopefully get that going.
Right. So that's different than how you would approach a studio recording where you're spreading things out and taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, let's think about a simple record where like, well, how do I create some 3-dimensionality with the spatial audio, right? You could take the lead vocal stereo stem that you use for the mix. That's fine and dandy. Or you could take a dry vocal and create a couple of stems where, okay, here's the reverb, here's the delays, here's a long reverb, and then give them locations to make it more 3-dimensional. So I have a Tina Turner reissue of a record I recorded back in the 80s where I'm doing that, where I create some stems that I look at them as like, okay, here's the stem of her clear front picture. Here's the stem of the first reflections. Here's the stem of the delays that would be in the back of the room. And then here's the reverb that might take up more of the middle. So you actually could create 4 different effect stems and then have a dry vocal stem. So you'd have 5 pairs just for vocals.
Right.
So it's really up to, like, how far do you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that's why with the stems I'm making normally, I'll look at certain objects and say, you know what, this I can take further. Or this, once I bring it into the Atmos, I can duplicate it and make a wet version in the back.
Right.
So I think it's different for every song, but I try to make it leaving some wiggle room for later.
Man, thanks for sitting down with us, sharing your experience on this new endeavor, this new Atmos thing. I mean, it's pretty exciting. The labels are asking for it. Hopefully, we'll start to see more artists and producers working with this in mind as they're tracking and things, because there's a lot of possibilities there.
I agree. I mean, I think it's in its infancy, and we have to figure out a way where you can hear it how I hear it.
Right.
When we have that, I think when that part is worked out, when you're able to, right now, when you're able to have your Apple TV, plug it into a device and have the speaker set up that's similar to how we hear it, so you can feel that 3-dimensionality, I think it'll become more popular. And, only time will tell, but it's a new thing for music, and it gives us another way to look at older songs also, but also gives us a new way to experience new songs.
Right.
And there are some records, there is some music out there built to be like a sonic freak show, right? And then there's also songs that were not built for this that you can enhance with that. I mean, imagine if on Queen's, Bohemian Rhapsody, if we were able to get the discretion of the original tracks pre-bounced, if possible, to make some of those moments in that song spread around. Okay? Right. It would be great. And I think songs like that are kind of built for this theatrical sonics, you could say. So, yeah, always a pleasure to talk about the new things.
Yeah, I think it's exciting and a lot of fun.
So Mitch Gallagher here from Sweetwater, and look for us up on the site, right?
We'll be there.
We'll be there waiting for you. So anything with Atmos you need to know, there's one phone call to make, and that's with the Sweetwater representatives. These salmons are much better experts than I am.
Well, thank you for saying so. And I don't have to say anything, but
I know when I'm scratching my head, that's the first call I make. I call my salesman and go, hey, you solved this problem yet? So,
that's awesome.
Cool stuff.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Mitch.
Great to see you.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And thank you for joining us here in Chris's studio. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.
Take care.